So what I want to do is students sustainability is great.
Buenos días, se pueden acercar, tomar asiento para dar inicio a la sesión. Gracias. Good morning, everyone. My name is Armando. I am the Media and Communication Specialist for the eCharge Entrepreneurship and Commercialization Center here at Cambridge, and I want to welcome you to this week's session of 1 Million Cups. So what is 1 Million Cups? 1 Million Cups is a national program that fosters community building and educational experiences to find solutions, solve problems all across the U.S. for every entrepreneur, new and aspiring. Within the United States, we belong to the Southwest region. Within that Southwest region, we share responsibilities, 1MC responsibilities with our partners at the McAllen Chamber of Commerce. We're one of two 1MC representations here at the RGB. So what do? Every week, we invite 1 to 2 presenters. We each give them 10 minutes to present, and that is followed by a 10-minute Q&A. The whole idea of this is finding what the community can do to help you. And share your story so we can learn from your experiences. So who we are. The program, everything we do here is by the community and for the community. Our speakers, our presenters, coffee sponsors, collaborators, our volunteers, everything is done by the community. We're just here to facilitate. More than just networking, we want to foster meaningful and lasting connections. More than just business pitches, we want to hear your story. We want to hear what brought you, and hopefully learn. From day one up until now, we have shared with you 1,390 cups of coffee. A lot of them have been sponsored by the community. If you're interested in sponsoring a cup of coffee yourself, reach out to us. We can make that happen. Have a conversation. At this point, if you have a phone call or a side conversation, you can step to the lobby. We have phone booths all around the building. It is working hours, so we understand a lot of you work. So feel free to just go to the lobby. We have phone booths around the building. At this point, I want to welcome our first presenter. This is Lisa Irby. If she can please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Irby, and it's actually IRBY. And I am the artist and the co-founder of Leaky, Contemporary Art and Design. I've been doing this for a few years now, so I'm glad to be here. It's a real privilege to be able to share my art with you all. So thank you for being here. If you want to know how I got my start, actually I started as a kinder student. My teacher, Miss January, she saw that I was really into art quite a bit because I couldn't take my nap. So she allowed me to go ahead and draw and create and make some things. And then in middle school, I entered a lot of contests. And I actually won some of those contests. One in particular was for the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. They had like draw me a little box where you had to copy it and draw it. And I won that competition. So they came to my home and I began to keep on creating, making things. Also in high school and college, I did quite a bit of art. I did logos for banks. I also worked for the university in the rec sport department for the publicity area. And I did a lot of bulletin boards, flyers, brochures, and lots of art. Now I got my business start actually when I began my company, which is called Pure One Images. It was a stained glass company. I didn't last that too long because I got pregnant. And if anybody knows anything about stained glass, you can't be letting and you're pregnant because it does affect the baby. So I couldn't continue that company. I also did art displays and shows. I've got public murals, and I've been in galleries, the museums, and also special occasion events like Juneteenth. A lot of my work is on display with murals and so forth, and brochures and flyers. And I do a lot of charity events where I do donations, and I give my art away for good causes such as Chosen RGB. Chosen RGB is for adoption. And then I also done with the Agadan where they raffle off my different art pieces in order to gain money for the scholarships for those students as well. And market days, I love market days. That's where my art really gets out there. I do smaller arts, like in terms of little teeny crosses and hearts with scripture on them and so forth. I forgot to mention, I am a Christian artist, if you can see by my work. And so I do a lot of that. And also when I taught school, every single one of my classrooms, didn't matter what I was teaching, all the way from the lower grades to upper grades, we always had tons and tons of art. I did what was called curriculum crunching, which allowed me to have the opportunity to give the kids art because they really, truly need art. It does something for their synaptic connections, and it makes them think better, and it allows them to express themselves. And even those kids that tend to kind of act out a little bit, art is their little outlet, lets them express themselves easily. And then finally, my business started really happening when people were like, hey, can you make something for me? I said, sure I can. So that's where the personalized gifts come into play. Now, my strengths, I think, for my art in particular, if you look at the pieces, they're all very unique and different, very, very colorful as well. There's vibrancy, there's a lot of design with it. Also, there's a message and there's a meaning behind each and every single one of the pieces that you see here. So maybe later on I'll have an opportunity to share in detail with you some of what each of the pieces means. And then also, I think I'm fulfilling what's called a little niche in the market. There's a lot of people that like art, but sometimes they put art up, but they don't even know why. So my art, once again, has a meaning, especially if you're a Christian. It fits that given niche for you. Now, my exposure, thank goodness for the RGV, I've had a lot of exposure down here in the Valley. This piece in particular was just recently at the Pecan campus at STC, and it was on display for, it was a display of art and memory. A lot of kids have art, but with the art comes the memory of certain experiences in your life. So with that given professor, he gave the opportunity to the public to go ahead and share out maybe a memory from your childhood. And this one in particular called, It Was Then That I Carried You. That reminds me of the poem Footprints in the Sand. I was actually doing a study over in Mexico City, and where I was living at the given time was kind of challenging. And I was always praying and asking God, please help me to get through this thing because there's a lot of challenges. And so when I got back home, my mother gave me the poem Footprints in the Sand. And that at the very, very end of the poem, because it talks about a man was walking down the beach, and it was kind of challenging. So sometimes there were two sets of footprints. But the very, very, very last line of the poem, it says, he says to God, hey God, where were you when I needed you most? I mean, why weren't you there? Because I only saw one set of footprints. Then he says, my child, it was then that I carried you. And so from that given poem is the inspiration of this one. And it's titled, It Was Then That I Carried You. Once again, too, at the Pecan campus, the Heart of Humanity Begins at the Cross. They actually ended up purchasing this one. It's a part of their permanent collection. It's on display there, so they can purchase this one. Once again, it's called The Heart of Humanity Begins at the Cross. And then in my church too, I've got a couple of other pieces there, the Flaming Cross, and also another one, which is called At the Cross. And then I've got murals with the Bethel Gardens. There are 3 of those on display. If you go to McAllen, you'll see those on display. It's called Faith, Unity, and Education, 3 separate ones. And there's also a collective mural that we did for Juneteenth, where the whole community came together, and what we did is we painted this huge mural, and it was called Freedom. So if you get a chance, go over to the Museum of South Texas, and you'll see that one on display. I've also, as you'll see, most of these are packaged already. I used to work at Laguna Madre Art Gallery, and I just recently stopped working there because I wanted to branch off and do my own thing. But all of these were on display at the gallery, and these in particular, and I've got a lot more at home if you want to come by and see some of those. I'm looking for a location, actually. And then I do market days in Edinburgh and also over in Harlingen. I've done solo shows at the Beyond Arts Gallery, and also I've been to IMAS, International Museum of Arts and Science. Now, what are my greatest challenges? Well, if you're an artist and if you're in business, you happen to know that it's kind of hard to balance both of those, because what happens is with trying to create and then trying to run your business is a little bit difficult sometimes, because you need time to sit there and do all the paperwork, and then you need time to create. So that's probably one of my biggest challenges. Also, I've got some issues with my website. It's a good website, but it can be better. And then the marketing, and then trying to make it go to a broader audience in general. I would like to also do product diversification. I really don't know how to do that, so that's a challenge for me also. And then financial backing. Looking for basically investors or grants or things like that to expand my business, and a location. And really, really probably the biggest thing that's a challenge for me as an artist, a lot of people like what they see, They admire it, they like it, but they ask themselves, is this a need or is it really more of a luxury? And the way that I see it, I think art is definitely a need. If you look at the walls, any wall space that has art on it, it enlivens that space. Look at your clothing, patterning. It's art's everywhere. So I think it's more than a need. It's something that we should have in our lives, basically. And sometimes the economy here does not allow for us to go ahead and purchase the things that we need to purchase to beautify ourselves, our homes, our living spaces. And also, I think the challenge is the appreciation of art. Do we value it the way that it needs to be valued? In other words, are we willing to pay for art? My biggest motivations, I call it the 4 C's. I like creating work that has been inspired by God. In other words, He tells me through scripture various things I need to create and make. Every single one of these pictures, as you see here, this one in particular, it's a dove that is actually descending, and then it's the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit that's coming. So this one here is actually done because my son, he at one point, not my son, my grandson, he had cancer at one point in time. So he's asking everyone to pray for him. So everybody's coming around and praying for him. And there's a certain type of serenity when you go to the beach. How many of you have walked on the beach? And as you walk on the beach, you feel a certain sense of calmness, the serenity, the love, the ebbing and flowing of the waves. It just kind of calms your spirit. And like I said, every single one of these pieces, this one is about eventually going to heaven. We're all going to be walking on the streets of gold, all the different colors from the different gems and so forth. So everything that's inspired via scripture or my experiences or my relationships with other people. They convey messages and meaning, and there are connections. Oftentimes, like at the gallery, whenever people would come in, they would look at a piece and they would just stare at it. And they'd step away and they'd come back and stare at it. And I'd walk up beside them and say, you want to tell me about the piece? What are you feeling? And that's where the conversations start. So my art allows for people to not only see what I'm creating, it conveys a message, it also allows me to make connections, them to make connections, and then also there are beautiful conversations that happen because of the art. So I'm at the point now, how can the community help my business? If you would, please share my story. Share it via social media and your personal interactions. Talk about it. Point them to my website, my Instagram page, whatever the case may be. They might see something that really appeals to them as a gift for themselves or for someone else. And also recommend my business to someone who's looking for art like mine. And then finally, buy a leaky. That's me, Lisa K. Irby. Thank you. What was that?
It was on display on Portishead. That one, the angel with the.
This one was on
Yeah, I'm
display.
pretty sure I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
You want to buy it? We can talk later.
Okay.
Okay?
That's the business part of you, right?
That's a business party. Anybody else?
Questions or comments?
I actually do. They're cut paper designs and abstract acrylic paper paintings.
I mean, I have a question.
Yes,
If you feel comfortable sharing.
yes.
Can you talk about that struggle between, a little bit more like between the creative part and the business part? Because I feel like I have that struggle.
Yes.
Not in this type of way, right? But in my own type of business. So how do you, what kind of things do you consider, do you kind of factor when you're making a decision? I should do this or I should do this.
Okay, deadlines are always the most imperative thing. If I've got a piece that needs to be pumped out, I've got to make sure I put the necessary time into it. But if there's paperwork, like deadlines and bills, whatever else, I do that as well. So I try to get up very early in the morning. Sometimes I get up at 2. Sometimes that's when I start creating when my juices are really flowing at 2 in the morning or 4 o'clock. But I do my paperwork for the most part at 6:30, something like that, just to get the paperwork done.
In the morning or?
In the morning. I'm a morning person.
Okay.
Yes. But it's hard to balance it because sometimes, you get involved in a piece and you don't want to stop creating it, but you have to stop sometimes. Like right now, I'm working on a piece very similar to this one. And if you look at my Instagram, I'm showing progressions of it. It just takes time. I do it in stages. I kind of tack it down with a little bit of tape, step back from it, look at it, see if it works or not, and I can go back into it. And then sometimes I walk away for a day or two and I come back to it. It just depends. And when I do my abstract work, like this one in particular, this one's called The Gathering, I tend to turn my canvas. I turn it. I start off one way and I end up presenting it actually upside down. So those are people that are being gathered, and there's the overseer looking at them. Anybody else? Yes.
What is your next step? What is your biggest dream in your business?
What is my next step?
Yes, your biggest dream in your business.
It's huge. My next step really is to have a gallery that has my work and other artists' work in that gallery as well, like a shared adventure. Not only that, but have classrooms in the back portion of it, where people can come in and have classes, where we can teach them, where they can even be self-taught, but have a space where people that are creative and need an outlet for us to be able to come to. That's my dream, in part. Then it gets bigger than that. But that's really my first step, is to have a gallery space. Anybody else?
Would you consider yourself, do you have any tie-ins with your offerings with like the local culture here?
In terms of what I create,
Yeah.
I think a lot of my work is reflective of the religious aspect of it, because there's a lot of people that do believe in God. And so a lot of that ties in that given sense. But there's also times like in my classroom, we did a lot of things like, related to different activities or related to different holidays. The music not so much, but it does come through. I don't know, I hope I'm answering that properly for you.
I don't, I wonder if there's like a palette that someone can say, that's the real rundown, I don't know, I'm not an art connoisseur by any means, right? I'm just wondering, and I think just be interesting to explore. That's my main, it's not really a question, more feedback, so sorry.
Yeah, but it's interesting you would say that, because for the most part, we think of the RGB as being mainly Hispanic culture. Yes, it is, but it also is. So we're a changing environment down here. So I think that we need to be very cognizant of how we look at the RGB. We're expanding in terms of who is in the valley, and that representation should also be a part of the RGB. I've been here basically 40 years. That's a long time. I come from Indiana, and I've been here. I came with the Latino Project, which was a cultural immersion program, and I've taught in the school system. My kids are raised here. They were born here. So this culture is my kids' culture, and my kids' culture is their culture. So we're all one when I see it. Anybody else? Thank you. Please don't be shy. Any questions on anything? Well, I do want to thank you for this opportunity to present, and I hope that you did enjoy my art. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. This is one of those different stories that I proactively speak out. Stories different, stories worth sharing. Now, before we get started with Michael Benz, I want to give him a huge shout out because he is actually today's coffee sponsor. So we can give him a huge round of applause for Michael. Michael Perez, he's the founder of Excel Business Solutions, and he's here to present his stories. Come forward.
Good morning. That coffee is really strong. Good morning, my name is Michael Perez. I was born and raised in Brownsville, and I wanted to share my story with you today. So I somewhat don't come from, I guess, a traditional, a lot of people do the 4 years college, some people go off and work, and some people, their own career paths. So I like to share my story and really learn people's story, because there's not a right or wrong way to get started with your career path. So Excel Business System has been a working of learning. So I'm always big on learning and new skills and Excel formulas and learning from other entrepreneurs, and it's really just a journey. So a stick of gum. my parents, my uncles, they always joke with me that when I was 5 years old, I would buy a stick of gum for, I think, $1 or 50 cents or whatever it was. And I grew up where I was always at the port. My parents and my uncles, it was like 12 in my dad's family, so it was a big family. And they were all shrimp boat owners, so I was always at the port. And they would all come in at the same time, and I'd buy several sticks of gum. And maybe I'd pay 50 cents or whatever I pay for it. But I would sell a stick of gum for $1 each stick of gum. So a pack, I'd profit $4. So lo and behold, without me even knowing about it, I started off my entrepreneur life there. So that's kind of ingrained in me. This HTML little guy that looks like me, actually, without me even knowing about it, I sold my first website when I was 14 years old to the Heart Institute of Brownsville, the Dr. Earls. So my mom worked there, and I kind of pitched it to them. They're like, "Yeah, we need a website." And that was kind of .com was just starting. It was pretty cool at that time. So that kind of got me like, whoa, people actually pay for this, and that's kind of got me into website design, marketing, and then really just learning different languages. And then from there, I knew I couldn't do it full time per se. You got to get a job, you got to pay the bills, whatnot. So for me, I've been fortunate to work for a lot of great organizations, including Idea Public Schools, as a payroll manager, Maximus here, Spectrum, all as a business analyst, to some capacity as an analyst, a financial analyst, program analyst. So it's been quite a journey, and I've been very fortunate to work for a lot of amazing leaders. So they've taught me a lot of great things. And with that, I've kind of put together a topology, what I call it is, on one end, I take my own skills that I've learned from jobs, and then on the second end, with the business consulting, you learn a lot from business owners. So I love meeting business owners in a brand new industry that I've never done before. For example, I just got a client in insurance. They do Obamacare, and they have over 18,000 clients. So it's big data, huge data. And to be able to have them entrust in you and work with that amount of data, it's really remarkable. So it teaches you a different button here. Obviously not great with this technology.
He was trying to do things.
Oh. The side logo here is automating systems. So graduated from websites, and that's automating systems. I think I have my slides here. So the next slide is how the business journey started. In 2012, I finally took the leap, and I started what was RGB paperless. So RGB paperless, at the time I was working for Idea Public Schools as their payroll manager, and they do a massive amount of paperwork, whether it's invoicing or hiring for HR, or in my case, payroll. So I work in the payroll department. So me having the skill set that I have, they entrusted in me to implement a system called Laserfish. So Laserfish is an electronic content management system. So it's electronic filing cabinet, basically. Think of it like a fancy Dropbox or Google Drive, but you've got a ton of metadata. So it'll tell you tons of different information on that document. So I was deeply, deeply intrigued by the software, and I said, you know what? I want to sell it. So 2 months later, I talked to their corporate office, flew out to California, got their training, paid their reseller fee, and lo and behold, I'm selling Laserfish to the RG community. So that was great. I did get some clients. However, I was catering to big business, to medium and large organizations who had a lot of employees. But on the day-to-day, I was speaking to a lot of small business owners. So from there, I had to pivot. So RGB paperless, just in the name, it was like, well, what do you do? Well, I help business go paperless. But you have to be further along in your process. If you're starting off, you're like, okay, well, how do I become paperless? Well, what do you do? I was like, well, I sell shoes or whatever your case is, but it doesn't resonate with a small business owner. So I pivoted and it rebranded. Let's go back. And started Excel Business System. So Excel to me is, I use it every day. Myself an Excel ninja, so if you need any pointers, and really just by meeting any entrepreneur, for the first time, whether you have a business card or you don't have a business card, or you have a business card and your business card says @gmail.com, I know where you're at in your journey as far as how you present yourself. Just as previous speaker, she mentioned it's a necessity. Well, some things in business are a necessity. You may not need a website, but Instagram, okay, you need Instagram. You need something that's going to portray who you are and help you with your identity. It just depends on what market you're at. So, oh, here we are. With Excel Business System, I'm focusing a lot more on QuickBooks. So it's the building blocks of business. Everybody needs accounting. IRS say so. So you got to keep track of your books and what you're spending on and how you're writing off. And the Laserfish was great. That was the previous software I was selling. But you need servers, you need big organizations. It's not very friendly for small business. So together with that pivot, there's what's now called a SaaS model, software as a service. Has anybody heard of that before? Software as a service? And you without even knowing about it, it's pretty much a subscription. On Dropbox, you pay for Dropbox or Google Drive or whatnot. If you're paying for that, that's software as a service, or you're paying for it. So the great part about those types of systems is you can begin to integrate them. So if you have QuickBooks, okay, you have your books, but then you have your clients there. And then your clients, well, I want to be able to resonate and talk to my clients. So, okay, how do I email them? Well, that's another system. Well, do I have to, type in the same information from here to there? I was like, no, you just create an integration. I go, how do you do that? That's kind of the sort of things that I do. So the middle logo there, the SharePoint. So does anybody have an Office 365 account for their email? A good majority, right? So out of the box, if you have an Office 365 account, you more than likely have SharePoint. SharePoint out of the box doesn't do anything, but you can build off of it. It's extremely, extremely powerful. Think of it like it is an intranet site. So you can, if you have say 10, 15 employees and you start to getting into like medium-sized business, you can start to segment by department and have security attached to each employee, perhaps. The MailChimp, that's the CRM. So the client relationship manager, that's what I was mentioning. If you want to email directly, and even if you wanted to segment them. So let's say you sell shoes. Well, there's men's shoes and women's shoes. So that's when you start segmenting. The job form, I love. If you guys need what's alternative to that? I think Google Forms is a different alternative to it. Jotform has a free version of it, but I love their paid version. It's only about 15, 20 bucks a month. If you have the need to capture data from your clients, click here to get more information. And you need to capture some information. Jotform is amazing because you can have, like, even if you need to capture signature. And all of these I started talking about, they all talk to each other. So you just need to know how. Tableau is probably more on the creating tables and graphs and financial forecasts, Zapier, and we've even gotten into app development. So if you're looking into creating an app for your business, I've created some great partnerships. So the focus for today was Excel Business Systems, but if you fancy downtown, sometimes you'll hear people call me the Rocket Man, because I own the Rocket Bar. It's a block away here. It's a cocktail lounge. And in about a month and a half in July, we'll be opening up A La Luna. So that's on 12th and Washington. It's upscale fine dining. However, there are some nice architecturally, we tried to keep the historicalness inside, but it's gonna be really nice. I can't divulge. And then finally, BTX United is a nonprofit that I started last year. If you were familiar or had heard about, we hosted the Brownsville Wine Festival in October. So that was a great event. So BTX United is focused on supporting the arts, science, and music scene through events, primarily in the downtown space. So we'll do call outs for artists and musicians, and really my goal with BTX United is to be able to create an incubator space. So it may line up with our goal, so perhaps we could talk of creating a studio. So the strengths of the business, I kind of put it, I have a few businesses, so I had to kind of put it high level. So just in accounting, if I'm talking to you and you're going to trust me with your books, you have to trust me. So I'm going to tell you about myself, what I do, how I do it, my process, in full transparency. It's the only way that has to be done. So if I don't walk away with your trust, you're not going to hire me. So I need to gain your trust. Whether that's with your books, you trust me with your books, or with making you a cocktail, which I do sometimes shake the tits. Analytics. So I'm super analytical. I need to, even if it's how many cocktails we served and where we're at, I need to see our performance. And that goes with any business. You need to be able to measure yourself and place. I guess when you're starting off, you don't put a number to it. You kind of know in your head, okay, I have money in account. Okay, cool. But are you actually, what's your margins? So I'm huge on that. And then finally, partnerships. So not so much in who my partners are in my business, but with the community. So with Rocket Bar, I like to do a lot of artists. I've invited artists, some paid, some not, where we do like live paintings. Say on a Thursday, we put wine on special, and it just gives a different environment. We'll have some jazz music, so it really is a partnership, because I'll offer them, something they probably wouldn't have gotten, but more on a long-term basis. So I'll try to help out others because they're helping me out. Some of the challenges, stigmas. Unfortunately, downtown has some stigmas. It is what it is, right? And we're all working hard. Just by this beautiful building, you can start to tell that there's belief in the city, there's belief in making it a safer space. We have the parking garage, we have more cameras, more police presence. So it's just removing those stigmas. And that is a challenge for me in just supporting downtown. Time management. There's all these different businesses and all these different clients. I'm always shifting gears. When it comes to the question about paperwork, and like me in my line of work, I love paperwork. I do paperwork, but at the same time, I'm also our designer, our marketing designer. So all of our reels, all our photos, I take all of that, and I have the problem, the opposite of you guys. I'm not so creative, but I can be. It just takes me longer. So I need to do all my admin paperwork, and then I need to just zone out, not think of anything else, and then I'm like, all right, this looks good. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, and then you keep messing with it, and then finally add a song, and it's a process. Change. So I've gone to startups, which is probably on the easier side, and then I've been to companies that have been around for 30, 40, 50 years. And change is always the hardest for people, because it's, you're used to something in your safe space, obviously investing resources. So change is difficult, even for me sometimes. And finally, everybody's problem, we're not Elon, but yeah, capital. So we all want to do and have 50 ideas, but without the capital, then it is a challenge. Some of my biggest motivations, I do have quite a few ambitions as far as projects. I experimented about a year and a half ago with bringing valet service to downtown. I'm hoping to have that back up very soon with different partners. Some restaurants, some other bars, and with the city, we may be bringing that back. That yellow logo, I just threw it in there, kind of. Can't really say what it is, but when you hear about it and you see me announcing it at some point in the near future, just remember that it's going to be a great thing for Brownsville. And it's really going to change everything. Alienwave Productions, so I've slowly started working on it. It's a music studio that I wanted to put together. Subscription based, so you pay $30 a month. It includes an hour of recording time. And then from there, you can kind of a la carte based on the sound engineer, and rent studio space. So, and in the downtown area. MobiWash is an app that I'm working on. Without divulging too much, it's basically the Uber of mobile car washes. So we have too many car washes out there. Let's not have more car washes. More motivations with family. I've got a beautiful son. And he challenges me just by being himself, and want to leave a legacy for him. Brownsville, I mean, just with all the changes that we have going on, it's truly amazing. Once there's a movement and the direction that they're going, the leadership with the city, it's going. And I do have ambitions to hopefully write a book or two. So those are some of the motivations that I have. How can the community help my business? So if you may, with everything I've gone through right now, one way or another, I know you can help me, but it involves a conversation. I think it's more of partnerships. So whatever business you're in, I'm very involved. I'm actually going to speak to Linda after this to try to put together an event for small businesses. So I'd like to be your advocate. And if that means that I help you with making connections that I have with networking, or getting with a good banker, or whatever connections I can give you, or if that means, hey, I suck at accounting, I need QuickBooks. I don't put the, hey, I'm going to charge you $500 a month and do this. It's like, no, if you want me to show you how to use it, if you prefer to be hands-on, I do that too. Like, I want you to grow as a person, as your organization, and wherever you are in that journey, I'm going to support you. So that's really where I come from. And if that means just a conversation or being a resource for you to text me, hey, I've got this question. I mean, at some point I'm like charging a coffee or something, but yeah, I want to be your advocate. So if you can scan that, it takes you to a little link tree, and just fill it out and get my number on there. It has my LinkedIn, and let's connect. Let's talk. I want to learn about your business and see how I can help you, or see how you can help me. Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Sir. Primarily out of home. Primarily out of home. I had an office, Rocket Bar, where Rocket Bar is at. I used to have an office on the second floor. However, I swapped the upstairs for the downstairs on the corner to expand Rocket Bar. The goal for me is to get the upstairs again. There's a couple of plans for that. I don't know. I'm trying to get it back up. It was an expensive storage, so I had to switch it up. But for the most part, I visit my clients at their office. If not, a coffee shops, wherever it's a mobile office. Sir.
Excelente tu compañía, todo lo que traes.
Muy amable, gracias.
¿Tienes un equipo de gente trabajando contigo?
I do.
Sí.
I have programmers, it really depends on what you need. So, app development. So in my experience as a business analyst, I can gather all the requirements. I know all the different languages and what they do and how they do it, but I don't program. Like I know the very basics. So, but I have programmers that I can get. They're all contract, they're all 1099. So I'll give them a scope. This is what we're doing. This is a project, and then it kind of works its way up. It's a general contractor, if you will. So the email with Isan, and then I kind of put something together, and then we've kind of put it together. But whether it's in programming or website or accounting or going paperless or really anything, I've got the resources that I put together. Sir?
I just want to say, I'm going to be picking your brain a lot, so.
Yeah, no, that's what it's for, especially when you guys talk about like the paperwork and the admin stuff. It's hard for me to say sometimes, but I think my strength is more in supporting. Like, of course, you want to be the number one in your company because it's your idea. But I think I thrive more in being in a support role. I've been a CFO for a company, and I probably did better in that role, supporting just administratively and compliance and reporting and that. So anything on that side that I can help you on, by all means. Any other questions? Sir?
What are your current challenges that you have? Because I know that you're in different industries. What are your current challenges on day-to-day life? Because I know that to service one industry itself would be a lot different than, for example, hospitality industry. How do you manage?
So for example, right now, right after this, at 11, I have a trucking company that I service. 80, 90 trucks, gross 15 million plus, that I'm helping with their books, closing out the year for them. We filed an extension. And then at 3 o'clock, I have that insurance company. So it's completely different type of data. To me, it's just, it's a mindset. You just kind of switch hats. It does become difficult, not difficult, just time consuming to do research. When you go, for example, into the insurance company and you don't want to be the person who knows the least of it. I know what I know. I'm a subject matter in what I know. But once you start talking all these plans and carriers and Obamacare, I've been there and it was a project for about 6 weeks, and they're like, offer me a job already. So it's good. It's humbling to not know everything. It's like it challenges you. I really enjoy going into a new industry, a new business type that you know nothing about. I mean, metrics are metrics. There's the KPIs or key performance indicators for any business, whether it's sales, amount of units, or this and that. But to know, as a business, they know what it is, but they've never had anybody to put it together. So I'll grab all the data and then put together tables for them, and then create a path for them to report on it, whether they want me to do it or I'll show them how to do it on updating those graphs on a month-to-month basis. So, but yeah, that's a challenge part. I think it's just learning, always learning.
I believe you're in the process of opening a restaurant. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Ala Luna is going to be opening mid-July, hopefully, and it's the easy way I explain it is if Terras, has everybody been to Terras? They're in the corner. Amazing spot. I've seen them. I've been downtown since just kind of coming up, and if Terras and Rocket Bar had a baby, that's the kind of vibe that we're kind of go for. So it's upscale, one feature that I'm very, very proud of, and I hope that you guys come out and check it out, is we have a basement. It's a small basement, about 200 square feet. It's like an L. So you walk in and there's a bar area, but as you get into the dining area, there's the start of the basement. I don't know where I got this idea from. Where I just, I woke up and I was like, it'd be super cool if we can cut out 3x4 here and find this really thick glass where people can walk over it, and let's put a wine cellar down there. So we're gonna have a wine cellar that you can walk over. That's illuminated. Our chef is from Mexico City, but he's been working in McAllen with a few fine dining restaurants over there for the past 8 years. So we're definitely bringing something new to the area. With the opening of La Rev next to Ramblas, Chilmole just opened, and then we have Terras, we got Kobayashi. Downtown is really, really going to be good as far as dining experience. So hopefully we should be open soon. Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your story. Before we finish the session, I'd like to show you some of the things we have coming up here at the Ebert Center and surrounding areas of the Valley. On May 29, next week, at 9 a.m., same place, same time, 1 Million Cups. Hope to see you here. If you want to present, if you want to sponsor coffee, if you want to get more involved, reach out to me, reach out to us. We can have a conversation, we can make it happen. May 30th, Velocity TX, the 8th session on Community Health Seminar Series. On this session, they're covering ways of connecting with the military, how to collaborate with them. If you have a product or service that you think could be of benefit to the military, any kind of product or service, you'd be surprised. This might be interesting for you to check out. The person who's facilitating this program is an actual military contractor, and it's a smaller group, so they're more open to questions and answers. So if you're really interested in providing services or products to the military, check this out. This one's happening on Mission EDC, the CED, and I believe they're live streaming. We'll always send out live stream links next week. If you want to go in person, you can go in person. On May 31st, next week, I believe this is Friday, it's the deadline for the SBIR STTR Startup Texas Program Accelerator. So if you have a innovation, technology, or research within your business model, within anything you do in terms of your business, you might want to apply for this program. This is an accelerator program that leads up to a business pitch competition that competes for $40,000, $20,000, and $10,000. If you have technology, again, if you have technology or innovation in your business, this might be of benefit for you. So check it out. The application's closed next Friday. Today, May 22nd, side note, it's session 1 for the Common Fast Track Blueprint Business Program here at Ebert. So if you are a member, don't forget, today, May 22nd. If you come to our events, like 1 Million Cups, among other events, you are welcome to stay at our facilities, work from here. We usually only have it for our members, but during events like today, you're open to stay, work from here. If you want a tour of the center, you can reach out to us, you can talk to us, we can make that happen. I see a few faces en el grupo. Me gusta, el evento es muy comunitario, es muy colaborativo, me gusta que la gente se siente en casa. Si alguien se quiere introducir, pueden sentirse abiertos a hacerlo. ¿Alguien se quisiera introducir al grupo? Anyone? The event is a very collaborative event. It's very for the community, and I like to make people feel at home. And when I see new faces, I like people to present themselves. It's voluntary; you don't have to do it. But if anyone wants to present themselves, anyone?
Hey everyone, hello. My name is Josh. I am the owner of Neon Visuals. I recently left my salary job at Charlie Clark Nissan. I would film and edit their commercials, but I have my own production company, and I'm just starting out. So that's what I do: like commercials, photography, and some graphic design.
¿Alguien más? Anyone else? Oh, that's everyone. That's everything. On behalf of the eBridge Center, UCHR, and BCIC, thank you for coming and have a wonderful day.